Good afternoon, everybody. We will call to order the June 26th Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. First item on the agenda is determination of a quorum, which we have. Public comments, I don't think we've had anybody to sign up to want to make any public comments. We do need to consider the minutes of the regular meeting of May 22nd, 2024. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to those minutes?
No, sir.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Do we need to call roll on that one?
Yes,
Okay.
if we have roll call and
All
everything.
right.
Ms. Foy,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Mr. Tibbs,
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton.
Aye. Before we get into new business, I just wanted to mention that the last item on the agenda, the application associated with AutoZone, has been pulled, so we will not be discussing that application. However, it's my understanding it will be brought up at the next July meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. So first item of new business is a special use permit. It's application Z24029 by Mr. Taylor, representing Rutherford County Government, requesting a special use permit in order to construct and establish an institutional group assembly use, a government building in a medical district zone CMR zone for property located at 525 North University Street. Mr. Aguilera is presenting that.
Thank you, Chair Halliburton. This item on our agenda today, this first item, is for a special use permit request made by SEC representing Rutherford County for a proposed addition, but is to establish a institutional group assembly, use a public building, and to permit an expansion of an institutional group assembly, use a public building. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to establish the institutional group assembly and to construct a 1,188 square foot building addition and for a parking lot modification, as you can see here on the site plan, for the Rutherford County Recovery Court building. Again, that's located at 525 North University Street. The property was previously used as a doctor's office, but in 2018, Rutherford County purchased the property. But at that time, there had been no application or special use permit request that had come before the board for that review. Again, a public building use is required to obtain a special use permit in front of the Board of Zoning Appeals, but not one was obtained at that time. So to help rectify this issue when discussions began for this building addition, staff did notify Rutherford County officials that a special use permit would be required to establish this special use and to permit the proposed expansion. That is why this item is coming before you all today. Currently, Rutherford County utilizes the existing building for its voluntary drug treatment program and offers a number of group services and activities to help with this recovery. An explanation, a description is included in the staff packet by the applicant, which outlines those kinds of activities. But the new existing addition will remove the existing sidewalk and plaza area and will connect to the front of the existing building facing Greenland Drive. The new addition will include new sidewalk for pedestrian and a base of building plantings. The property, again, is zoned CMR and is within the City Core Overlay District. The surrounding properties are zoned CMR to the west, south, and zoned CMR as well as OGR to the east, and with RS15 zoned property to the north. The uses are primarily medical and institutional uses to the west, and a mixture of residential and office uses to the east. Specifically, this existing building and proposed addition totals 10,064 square feet with a height of 18 feet. As shown on the attached elevations here that was included with your packet today, you can see that this proposed addition is keeping in character with the existing building by utilizing brick and shingle roofing. The location of the building addition does comply with setbacks of the CMR district, which requires a 30-foot front setback, 10-foot side setback, and a 20-foot rear setback. As shown on the attached floor plan here that was provided, the addition will be for 3 large meeting rooms, as you can see in this general location right here, and will be for the again, just contributing to those activities for Rutherford County Court Recovery Court. to further group activities and other services they offer. Going back to the site plan as depicted, there are no real major modifications happening to the site other than the addition and the modification for the new handicap space, in addition to one bike rack space, which is required with the parking requirements of the CCO, the City Core Overlay District. The parking standard per the zoning ordinance for public use is one space for each 250 square feet of floor area. In this case, the required parking spaces is 40 total spaces. The parking provided on site is 41 spaces plus 2 additional handicap spaces for a total of 43 parking spaces. Per the applicant's letter, no new access points are being proposed with this because the expected traffic patterns any change to those traffic patterns are expected to be very minimal with this. So beyond that, those are the proposed modifications and the proposed use for this property. Per Section 9 of the zoning ordinance for special use, as you all recall, the standards require that the applicant present evidence to show how they comply with the general standards of applicability, as well as the additional standards for institutional group assembly uses, including public buildings. Per the standards of general applicability, staff believes that the applicant has met those requirements. This addition, again, will mimic the character, will match the existing character of the building. They will use brick and shingle roofing. It is compliant with the setbacks, and this use, again, will be an addition for the existing use, so it will, again, mimic the character and services offered here in this institutional medical type uses in these areas. Any new activities with this proposed use will be contained in site. As stated in the applicant's letter, there will be no real major impact or any sort of outdoor activities held with this. These are all meant to be contained inside to just provide some more general area for the current uses and services offered inside. There are no real historical or real significant historic features on this property. There is some landscaping to be removed for this proposed use, but there will be some landscaping again around the proposed building use, the proposed building addition. So staff again believes that those general standards of applicability have been met by the applicant. For the additional standards for an institutional group assembly use, again, the zoning ordinance requires one parking space for each 250 square feet of floor area. The required parking, again, is listed out where they are required to have 41. And the parking provided is, the required parking is 40. The provided parking is 41 spaces plus an additional 2 handicap spaces for a total of 43 spaces. So they meet those standards. There are no major modifications happening to the existing services or utilities. The proposed addition will utilize the existing services and utilities for this that the current building utilizes. And again, the building addition does comply with those lot standards and requirements listed for the outlined in the CMR zoning district. There are no short-term or temporary uses proposed with this building, as well as no outdoor modifications, outdoor amplification devices proposed with this. This is not, those standards do not apply to a building use. Those are more, in line with a church or other type of recreational field use that we would see for other institutional group assembly uses. So those standards are what we would look at for lighting or any kind of noise amplification is not applicable here. And so staff believes that for the additional standards for an institutional group assembly have been met. Based on the applicants providing the evidence and documentation necessary for this proposed use, staff believes that as it's represented in its current documents, it meets those minimum standards as well as the additional standards, and we recommend approval of the special use permit with the following conditions. And that is listed in your staff report. Staff recommends as a condition of approval that, one, that the BZA approval does not imply approval of the site plan. The site plan submittal shall include civil plans, landscape plans, and photometric lighting plan, and building elevations and other necessary plans to demonstrate compliance with the zoning ordinance and design guidelines. Plans submitted shall be substantially consistent with what has been presented to the BZA. I am here if you have any questions. Matt Taylor of SEC is here as well, should you have any questions for him or the proposed use, or the existing use, sorry.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Aguilera? All right.
I noticed on both of the applications today that there's a condition of approval that I've never seen before. It's my understanding that the BZA approval has never approved a site plan, so I don't understand why we have that as a condition.
So This one was actually pulled from a previous staff report.
Okay.
We've had that condition before because this is just approving the special use and to permit the proposed addition because, again, they have to have those rights first by you all to then go onto the site plan. And so
Right.
they need
But
to submit
the
that.
BZA has never had authority to approve site plans.
But this is just implying that this does not have site plan approval, so they can go on to do that.
I just don't think I've ever seen where that's in a condition like that, where there's never been any other conditions. Like we've had them where there's other conditions, but not like on its own. So I just didn't understand why we would need to include that as a condition if that's not something the BZA has authority to do. Is that like legally required? I don't.
Probably not legally required. I was trying to pull up the specific section on special use permits to make sure that the language matched. But I think it's probably best to say it's a belt and suspenders approach. Again, just to reiterate that those approvals aren't in place yet, so that BZA approval is not the final step in this process.
And the reason staff has put that in there, and we have used it on a couple others within the last few months, is to communicate more to the applicant that they still have that additional step. You know, you're getting quite a bit of detail here in a site plan, and we don't want them to think that that's approval of their site plan and move forward. We just want it to be clear that they still have to go through that process with the city.
I guess it just concerns me that, like, if we put that in some and we don't put that, like, if the BZA doesn't have the authority to approve a site plan anyway, then why would we, like, I'm not sure if us granting based on and adding in the conditions, the recommended staff conditions, like, I think that, I don't know, it just seems like superfluous rather than a belt and suspenders when we don't have authority to ever grant site plan approval. Like, we don't have that authority.
Could it not be the reverse of the situation if there was significant deviation when they took the site plan, went and did the site plan, that it significantly deviated from what we understood we were approving? Would that be a reason?
It just seems like it's a restatement of what the BZA can approve. I just don't understand its point. And if we don't do that, if that's something that the applicant needs to know, then is it not on the application or in another space that they I guess it just, if it's a condition of, it doesn't appear to be a condition of approval either, because if it's not something we can condition, then why are we conditioning our approval on something we can't do?
Good point.
And Ms. King, I found the section I think that you're thinking about on that. It's section 8E of the zoning ordinance. It says the issuance of a special permit shall not allow the development of the site for the special use, but shall merely authorize the filing of applications for required permits and approvals, including but not limited to building permits and certificates of occupancy. So the provision is general in nature, even though it does include a couple of those examples. But that's the language of the zoning. So I think you're right. The board wouldn't have the jurisdiction to approve a site plan anyway. Although I do think Mr. Tipps's point's well taken that I think for the site plan approval process, the city as a whole would need that to be substantially similar and compliant with what was presented to the BZA.
I don't know. I mean, if that's not already, I mean, I would think that that's already in the code as well, that the plans submitted have to be substantially compliant with what is in the BZA. Is it not?
That might be more of an inference. We'll see if I can find it real quick.
I mean, I could see including that if that last sentence, you know, that would be something that we can condition. But I don't think we can condition something that we can't do anyway.
The last sentence.
I mean, but I think that's already in the ordinances. I mean, I don't think that was my understanding. I mean, things change. I don't.
Actually, John just found a very interesting provision. This is actually up in section 7. John, you want to read
Sure.
that out?
Yes, Ms. King, Section 7A, it's site plan review. It does state that the Board of Zoning Appeals shall have the authority to grant site plan approval concurrent with its action on special exception uses. And so I think that's the reason why it's this is being included here, is because the authority could potentially exist, but in here you're not exercising that authority. That's what that's saying.
I don't see this we don't have this in everything.
Absolutely.
So it's you know, so when we do have authority, like what's the difference between when we would or we wouldn't have authority?
It's probably just, I would say it's fact-specific based on the application. I think, as Mr. Aguilera was sort of stating earlier, some applications come through more thoroughly designed than others. I'm thinking specifically of perhaps new construction where a site layout has already been established that includes traffic circulation, things like that are typically part of the site plan approval process. So it comes through much more complete and ready to go. Then you have some other ones that are more basic in their presentation that relate strictly to a permitted use of the property and not the actual site layout of the property. And here you sort of have something that's straddling that line of it's a more developed plan that you're seeing than something that's just kind of a back of the napkin drawing for the use. This is a lot closer to laying out the site, circulating traffic patterns, approving parking, that sort of thing.
And so this is going to require additional staff approval. It doesn't require an additional board or planning commission.
Joel, will this have to go back to the planning commission for site plan, or?
Yes, so after this process, once you all, should you all approve of this special use, establishing this special use and the proposed building addition, this will go forward with site plan review through the regular planning commission site plan submittal cycle. So that would go before that body.
I don't know. It just made me ask questions.
It's good questions. And I think going forward, too, staff will can do a better job of being more thorough in explaining when these situations arise and why those conditions are put in there.
Okay. I'm sorry, I had never seen them before. I just saw them both of these, and there weren't, like, the other one has maybe 2 conditions, and so it's oftentimes, they're probably with other things that have lots of conditions, and I don't recall seeing it before, so I appreciate you indulging me in my
Anytime.
confusion.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Aguilera? Matt, do you have anything you want to present? All right, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anyone would like to speak for or against this application, please come forward. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and go to the board for any discussion, motions, that sort of thing.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the special use permit application. Basis of the information we've been provided, it doesn't appear to have any adverse effects on adjacent properties. There's no, it's compatible with the immediate vicinity, adequately served by public facilities, not apparent to have any destruction or damage to anything of a natural, scenic, or historic importance, and is complying with the additional standards that's required in a institutional group assembly.
Is there a second?
Subject to the other conditions by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Ms. Foy?
Aye.
Ms. King?
Aye.
Mr. Tips?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye. That application passes. The next application is Z24030 by Mr. Taylor, representing Mr. Decker and Mr. Belt. They are requesting a special use permit in order to construct and establish a daycare center in a general office zone on property located along the west side of St. Andrews Drive, south of Oval Hessen Lane. Mr. Donovan.
Thank you, Chair Halliburton. The application before you this afternoon is an approval for a special use permit to establish and operate a daycare center on St. Andrews Drive. The proposed daycare center that would be constructed is 11,060 square feet facility with on-site parking, landscaping, and a playground on the 1.4 acre parcel. The subject property is zoned OG Office General, which allows daycare centers with a special use permit approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Per the applicant's letter, the proposed daycare would accommodate up to 157 children with 15 employees on its largest shift and will operate from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. So the subject property is south of two current daycare facilities, Salem Academy and Salem Academy 2, just east of Section 1 and 2 of Salem Glen subdivision, and a detention basin that will actually serve this site. And then just north of a vacant lot in Major Smiles, which is further down St. Andrews Drive. And then it is just west of West Ashbury Farm Apartments and a vacant lot that are across St. Andrews Drive. So adjacent properties surrounding this are zoned OG as well. To the northwest and south, the property to the east, the apartment complex is zoned RM16, and then the vacant lot is zoned commercial fringe. So the facility on the site, as I stated earlier, is 11,000 square feet. Just over 11,000 square feet. There's one access off of St. Andrews Drive, providing traffic circulation, allowing for unloading and loading on the site as required in our standards. The site is landscaped with perimeter plantings and base of building plantings, as well as plantings around the dumpster enclosure. The parking lot runs along St. Andrews Drive and then turns south around the edge of the building, where the dumpster location is on the southwest corner of that building. There are 48 provided parking spaces, which meets the one space per 300 square feet of floor area, plus the 1.5 per 2 employees of on the largest shift for the site. Utilities are along St. Andrews side and will be extended into the site to serve it. The playground is in the rear of the structure on the site. The structure is proposed to be approximately 26.5 feet tall. I'm trying to get you some elevations for you to see here. And we'll have cement fiberboard and brick on the exterior of the building, which is consistent with our guidelines. So staff has reviewed the general standards of applicability and the specific standards for the daycare use, and the application is generally in good order. Staff is recommending approval of the special use permit due to the applicant meeting the general standards of applicability and specific use standards as noted. If approved, staff recommends the special use permit include the following condition. BZA approval does not imply approval of the site plan. The site plan submittal shall include civil plans, landscape plans, photometric lighting plans, and building elevations, and other plans necessary to demonstrate compliance with the zoning ordinance and design guidelines. and the plans submitted shall be substantially consistent with what has been represented to the BZA. And condition number 2 is prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall provide planning staff with a statement from the State of Tennessee Department of Human Services that the proposed daycare facility can comply with all requirements of the State of Tennessee with regard to such use. I'll answer any questions you have, and Mr. Taylor is here as well.
Any questions from the board?
You said there was 2 other daycares. Where did you say those were?
Yes, ma'am. They are located just to the north of the site. Let me get back up to the map. Well, I can actually point them out here on the plat. The Decker investment sites that are just to the north there are the 2 other daycares that are in the area.
I misunderstood. I thought they said they were academies, as in centers of learning.
That's the name of them, is Salem Academy and Salem Academy 2.
Okay,
That's what they call preschools academies now.
okay, all right, good. Learn something new every day.
You were a little before that.
I was thinking, yeah, thinking maybe there's a saturation here, okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Taylor, anything to add? All right. With that, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anyone here wish to speak for or against this application? Seeing no one rushing to the podium, we will close the public hearing. And any comments, discussion, or motions associated with this application from the board?
I'll move to approve, subject to staff comments.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Ms. Foy,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Mr. Tips,
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton.
Aye. Okay, that application passes. Any other business before the BZA that we need to consider?
Yes, Chair Halliburton, I have a few items. First item, just let you all know, we will have a meeting next month. We have the one item that was withdrew today that'll be back on July 24th. And then right now, we're expecting at least 4 other applications. There's potential a few more could be added to that. So I suspect we're going to have a busy month in July. The second thing I have is just want to congratulate Ms. Foyt and Ms. King for being reappointed and continuing to stay on the board with us. It's good to know that in my short time here, I haven't ran anyone off yet.
With that, if there's no other business before the
Move
board,
we adjourn.
we are adjourned.